Hey guys, I'm ZeldaMaster and I have a new Breath of the Wild discussion video, and for this video, I'm not alone. I have AwesomeFaceProd, also known as Matt. Why don't you say hi?
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, Matt. Okay, thought I'd reply. But anyways, since Nintendo has announced their DLC earlier today, personally, I got really hyped for it, though a lot of people seem to feel the opposite way, especially on Nintendo's video. I mean, there's a lot of dislikes and a lot of negative comments. I'm sure if you noticed as well.
Yeah,
right?
that was the first thing I noticed when I went to that video, was there were a lot of dislikes, and I can actually kind of understand it because, I mean, I woke up late today, so I was kind of like the last one to see the news. People were already talking about it on Twitter. I ran to figure out what the heck was going on. I saw they announced the DLC, and my first initial reaction to it was, oh man, really? But then I read on Twitter and I saw people like Luke were super excited for it, and I just had the complete opposite opinion. So that's sort of why we're here today.
Yeah, so I'm with Matt because, my opinion is the complete opposite of Matt. Well, not the complete opposite. Matt agrees with me somewhat, but Matt does think that a DLC isn't the greatest idea, when me, on the other hand, I think it's such an awesome idea, and I'm really glad Nintendo is finally expanding with their games and actually adding more after the final release of the game, because I'm a fan of DLC. So are you telling me, Matt, you're not a fan of DLC at all, or is it just because it's Nintendo and they don't normally do it and you feel like they're holding back content? Because I don't really see it that way at all. I mean, we're getting new original story in this DLC, so there doesn't really seem to be any downsides.
So, yeah, DLC in general, I'm sort of iffy towards. That's not to say I'm totally against it. I've obviously bought, my fair share of DLC before. And Nintendo has a pretty good track record with their DLC. There are a couple of things that I am wary about with the Breath of the Wild DLC, but Pack 3, which contains the new story elements, the new dungeons, stuff like that, I'm totally okay with that. But Pack 1 and 2 seem a little lackluster to me. I think Pack 3 does make it worth the price tag of $20, but specifically the March 3rd DLC is what I have a kind of an issue with.
But it makes sense though, because it's not like you're buying 3 individual packs. It's not like Nintendo even has that as an option. It's you buy the expansion pass that's going to give you DLC pretty much throughout the year. Yeah, the bonus DLC you get, which isn't really a pack, it's just kind of bonus on release, has some useful items, because they say 2 useful items, and that seems oh wow, it's such a downgrade for people just starting the game. They give you some sort of upgrade or something for you paying additional money, but we really don't know what it is. I mean, what happens if they're actually completely useless? And plus, I mean, when you think about it, Breath of the Wild is going to come out as a final game. These extra things that Nintendo's going to be adding, like a Nintendo Switch logo shirt, it just didn't really seem necessary. I feel like literally the expansion bonus items we're going to be getting on release are just for hey, thanks for pre-ordering this DLC. It's not going to come out anytime soon. It's going to be much later within the year, but as a thanks, here's just something additional for paying the money, because you're paying $20 in advance that you're not going to see the content for until summer or winter of late this year. So it makes sense for us to get some sort of bonus. It's not something to worry about, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I can agree with you in that regard. And I said this on Twitter, but I'll say for the video too. Cosmetic items like this, I don't have a problem with cosmetic items, because generally speaking, cosmetic items like the extra shirts or whatever are created towards the end of development, when the art team really has nothing else to do, because development has shifted towards, polishing everything up for release. Now, my issue with the March 3rd DLC is because it is Day 1 DLC, and that to me means that there is no reason for that content to be locked behind a paywall whatsoever, or not included in a Day 1 patch. To me, paying for that, paying the $20, even if it is just a bonus as a thank you, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, because it includes those 3 items. If it was just purely cosmetic stuff as a reward, I would be totally okay with that. But those 3 items that are in the Great Plateau, and like the DLC doesn't even say they're new items per se. So, I mean, originally my thought was, okay, so that means that there was some development time that was shifted off of Breath of the Wild to create these items and put them in the Great Plateau. Instead of actually working on the game itself, they shifted to working on that, only to charge players extra on release for the DLC. That may not be the case. They may have just like had the items already in the game, in chests somewhere already, and just copy and pasted them into the Great Plateau, in which case probably didn't take them a whole lot of time. But, I mean, my argument of why isn't that content, you know, already in the game or available on release already still stands. And then I also made the point, I mean, you made the point before, like, we don't know what those items are, and I can agree to that, but there is still, there's still, like, the, you know, big what if, like, what if those items are, like, ridiculously good, beginner weapons, or ridiculously good armor that make the Great Plateau just a cakewalk. Like, at that point, you could argue that it's almost pay to win for that first area.
That's true, but here's the thing, it's just a what if for now. We don't know. I mean, you could be right. Maybe when it comes out, it's like a really good sword and shield or something that will make like advancing through the very early portion of the game super easy. And if that is the case, then I mean, that is kind of unfair for Nintendo to do that. Because here's the thing, I'm not completely behind you know, the certain perks we're getting from this DLC. What I'm excited for is the fact that we're getting new original story, a new dungeon, additional challenges, stuff that wasn't meant to be in the game that is going to be added and maybe still is being developed. So it was never going to be in the final game. So that means Nintendo, like, they want to actually add to the game, and they don't want the game to just, you know, end after its final release, which is awesome, because, you know, I always mention this, Dark Souls is a game that does it really well. There's a lot of companies that, you know, do DLC, and I played a lot of games, and I paid for a lot of money for DLC, or just for, like, certain microtransactions to get, like, skins and stuff, and I feel like a lot of it is just, you know, a cash grab, you know, it's just easy way to make money. People are playing the game, they're enjoying it, they want some sort of perk, something, a skin, anything, and you end up paying money for it. But I don't really see Nintendo doing that with this, because it's a $20 whole type of package that we're getting, and in the end, I feel like the true DLC, the thing that we're actually paying for, is for Pack 2, which is the new original story, I mean, it's a new dungeon, so clearly it wasn't going to make its way into the game, and like more challenges and stuff. I feel like everything else is just to hold us over until the game is out. And yeah, it does suck that this stuff wasn't in the game originally, like the new hard mode, but keep in mind it's a new hard mode, so maybe there's already a hard mode, and for paying for this DLC you'll get even harder mode, which makes sense. I mean, they don't have to have everything within the game. It could still also be in development, because that's not coming out on release. Literally the only thing Nintendo is showing us is just 3 chests that we're going to be getting from them. So I feel like in general, you know, Nintendo's giving us new content, and I feel like it's worth paying for, because compared to other things we pay for a DLC, this isn't really that bad at all.
No, I mean, I could agree with you there. Like, the new story and the new dungeon, and even to some degree the new hard mode, I can agree that those are worth paying for. I've said before, everything in the March 3rd DLC, like, bundle thing, I don't think it's worth it at all. Maybe the, you know, like, what was it? I think they said additional map features or whatever. That was in, like, Pack 1. That seems, like, really vague. And
it is really vague.
I mean, I don't really know what that entails, but, like, map features...
Maybe they're developing a better map feature in it. Okay, if that is the case, then it is weird how you'd have to pay for it if it is something that they're going to make better. I don't really know what new map feature means as well, but, I mean, it clearly could still be in work, or... Thing is, we can't tell. We don't know what this DLC is. Maybe it's actually something that's worth paying for.
Maybe.
This additional map feature.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't really know. But yeah, no, I'm with agreement on you that $20 is a fair price for the extra story content and the extra dungeon, like, hands down. I mean, once I read that, I was kind of sold on the DLC. Some of the other things up until that point were kind of like, I mean, alright. But, yeah, I mean, that was just, like, I think my reaction to the March 3rd content is what a lot of people are upset and sort of reacting to, because I'll admit, before I sort of looked at it for a longer period of time, I was pretty upset and annoyed that there was day one DLC. Once I realized that, okay, it's all or nothing pretty much. It's either you're paying the $20 and you're getting all 3, or you're not paying the $20 and you're not getting any of it. So
Yeah.
the cost is pretty much for Pack 2. We could both agree that Pack 2 is pretty much the best thing, right? So
No, yeah, exactly. And I feel like, the bonuses aren't really anything that are holding back. It's just additional items to thank us. I feel like, there shouldn't be a reason to get upset over that even, just because it's just for us to wait, because imagine paying $20 and seeing nothing for another couple months, because we're going to have to wait for any of the DLC to actually come out. This isn't really DLC, it's just 2 useful items and a Nintendo logo shirt. So, if you can get past that, I feel like you should be able to agree, or most people should be able to agree with the sense that this isn't anything bad, and that this is just like most DLC, if not better, because we pay more for a lot of other things. That is, think of Smash. Nintendo has done DLC with Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U and 3DS, and how much is it in total? $30, or I think $45 to get it on both platforms, everything, because I'm pretty sure you can't literally pay $30 and have everything on the Wii U, on the 3DS. There's still some things you're missing out on, but I'm not sure. In general, you're still gonna pay a lot of money, and I did get all the Smash DLC, and I know I paid around almost $50 for it, so that's the entire game for just new stages and new characters. Okay, well, that game is completely different, done Breath of the Wild, but in general, I feel like a lot of people didn't have an issue paying the $50 or the $30 for all of that DLC. Or Mario Kart 8, it also had DLC, which in total was $12 or almost $15 or something like that. Yeah, and it wasn't really too much to the game. They just added more that could have been developed over time, and I feel like that's exactly what Nintendo is doing with this. It's new story that's still being developed that will be added to the game, because even though they want to release the game, maybe they still want to work on it. They don't want to just completely put a halt on working on Breath of the Wild just because it's out. And I love the fact that we have that option of DLC. We can look forward to something more in a game for once, especially Zelda. Yeah,
and I think there's another subsection of people who are upset, and I can sort of understand this too, but this isn't really my argument with it. But at this point, Breath of the Wild has been in development for almost 6 years at this point. And I think the fact that there's still extra content that didn't make it into the game. We know Breath of the Wild is huge. It's a massive game. Who knows how long it was actually in development for. I think 6 years is probably an accurate number based on some of the research that I've done, but it could be longer, it could be shorter, who really knows at this point. I think some people might be looking at the extra DLC as sort of a slap in the face a little bit, just because it's been delayed twice. First it was coming out in 2015, then it was 2016, and now it's all the way 2017, and it's come on, how could you guys not get this ready to go after delaying it for so long already? So I think there's some people that might be upset about that, but I'm with you. I can give that a pass too, because now we sort of live in a digital era where we can continue to add on to games after their initial release, and I think just the timing of the announcement was not the greatest. I sort of understand why they did it, because they wanted to include that March 3rd bonus DLC. But had they just included the March 3rd stuff in maybe a day one update, provided that for free, and then maybe a little bit later down the line announced DLC packs 1 and 2, I don't think there would be any people that would be upset whatsoever. I think announcing the DLC now before even the game releases sort of leads people to believe that on release, Breath of the Wild is not a completed game, and people hate that.
Yeah, okay, and I completely understand that, and I know where people are coming from, because that is true, and there are a lot of companies that literally withhold parts of the game. Like, it could have been out all on release, but they purposely put a paywall so you have to get it. But here's the thing. Breath of the Wild isn't out. We don't know what's in the game. We can't really judge anything about the game. Like, I feel like before people can honestly make that claim or expect some sort of free DLC, like, clearly the DLC isn't ready. Nintendo's saying it's going to be out by the end of the year. So if you look at it logically, the DLC is still probably in development. So it's not ready for the final game. And we have yet to play the final game. So we are already, like, before we saw the DLC, everyone was happy with the idea of Breath of the Wild. There was no need to be upset. The idea of the story seemed cool. Like, we don't even know what content is in Breath of the Wild. So I feel like you have to play the game, beat it. If you're not satisfied with the story and feel like you actually needed more, then go ahead and complain and say Nintendo should have had this DLC on release, or it should have been free or something. But no one has yet to even play the game. Like, I feel like everyone's jumping the gun before they even got a chance, because Breath of the Wild said to be the biggest Zelda game. It's Nintendo's biggest Zelda game ever. You can tell they tried a lot. They put a lot of money into it. I don't know, just from like a standpoint, this is clearly something Nintendo is taking very seriously. So thinking Nintendo is just trying to make money off of it straight from the bat through DLC is pretty, jumping the gun and kind of stupid, because we have yet to even play the game. Once we actually play the game and see if it's worth it, if it's actually really good enough, and deserves maybe paid DLC, or maybe it doesn't, maybe it deserves free DLC or more content to the game, but we still don't know crap,
Right. Yeah. No, I can agree with that too. Honestly, I think most of what you and I disagree on is minimal. Like, I think you and I agree on most things regarding this DLC, or we agree on more things than we disagree on. So.
Yeah. Then yeah, I mean, I guess yeah. In general, we kind of came to terms with, because at first I thought it was gonna be more of an argument, but I guess we do understand. But I thought it would be cool to kind of make a discussion video. And overall, let us know what you guys think of what we talked about in this video, and what you guys think of the DLC in general. Because personally, I don't really see it being much of an issue. So many companies do this. This is normal in, gaming nowadays. DLC is common, it's accepted, and people buy it, people get excited for it. Maybe just the fact that Nintendo revealed it before the game was out, so people assumed the content that would have been there was, held back, but we don't know. In reality, the game could still be, the full-fledged Breath of the Wild. We're gonna play all of it, and then we're just gonna have more to it. That's all that we should look at it as. But I guess there's people who are assuming Nintendo is being greedy and being like other game companies, but I highly doubt it. Maybe because I'm a Nintendo fanboy, I'm trying to defend them as much as possible. I don't know, but I honestly don't see Nintendo doing it in a way that, they're just trying to make money off of it. I feel like this is something that it just makes sense, and it's also a business. They should make money off of it. It shouldn't be free DLC, and they shouldn't try to fill the game with all the content they would have had and not expect to add more just because people are going to be upset because it's DLC,
Right, and I think just this largely comes from people getting burned in the past from other DLCs and other video game companies. But as I said, Nintendo doesn't have a track record of releasing bad DLC. Like, normally, their DLCs, they're all developed after the game's initial release, and the prices they charge are pretty good for the content that they give you. I think this one is only different because there is that slight day one element, and as I said, people just do not like the idea of day one DLC.
Yeah, I guess that does make sense because it makes it seem like they were holding back. But like I said, if you look into it, the items aren't really anything that they could have been holding back.
Right.
It's two just quote-unquote useful items, and then a freaking Nintendo Switch logo shirt. Man, when I think of that, that's just so random and stupid. Like, why is that in the game? But all right, anyways, let us know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you, Matt, for joining me in this little discussion.
No problem, dude.
And make sure to check out Matt's channel. He actually does a lot of Zelda and Breath of the Wild content. He'll also be doing a Let's Play on release. and I'm sure that's going to be exciting. Just overall, I can't wait to watch like every Breath of the Wild LP and see how different people, I mean, because I really hope there's not like a guide everyone decides to follow. I hope everyone actually takes their own path. That's something I'm going to want to do. I want to discover my own path and make my own walkthrough for the game and see where I end up, because yeah, the fact that we have that option, if, you know, Nintendo is true to their word, because they told us that with, you know, A Link Between Worlds, and every single Let's Play seems pretty the same out there. You know what I mean? Like, everyone kind of figured out, okay, this is the optimal route, you know, the best route to go to. So I really hope Breath of the Wild doesn't have that. I hope it's actually open world.
Yeah,
you know?
so do I.
Yeah, okay, anyways, I'm going to stop rambling. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I've been ZeldaMaster. I'll see you all in another video.